Chattowood Gardens is the home of ecological and sustainable planting. It's based on the principles of using the right plant for the right place. In this garden, we're lucky enough to have all of those different conditions that we need for a wide range of plants. We have damp conditions, we have dry conditions, we have woodland, and we propagate here over 2,500 different types of plants. So we really know about plants and their conditions and what they want to survive. So Chattowood is a new development that was taking place very close to us, and they wanted to use the Chatto name, and we thought this would give us a great opportunity to trial a new style of planting. It seems that with all new developments they have turf, a lot of turf, that needs continual maintenance and is not really very rich for biodiversity. Also, will use some shrubs, but it's just a handful of shrubs that are used over and over and over again. And again, they're not necessarily rich for biodiversity. And we thought this is going to give us an excellent opportunity to use plants that will look fantastic and will be great for biodiversity and will be low maintenance.
If you're using traditional topsoil, you often introduce both annual and perennial weeds. So at Chattowood, we're actually using about 30 centimetres or 12 inches of sand, and this helps to reduce the amount of weeds that you're introducing. And the sand also forms a crusty surface on top, which actually stops some of the annual weeds from germinating. So the planting is really based on the gravel garden at Beth Chatto's. The range of plants we're using are all drought-resistant plants, so they can cope with this poor free-draining soil. Some of the key plants we're using, Stipa gigantea, lavender, salvia. So it's a nice mixture of perennials and evergreen shrubs and grasses. In comparison, if you have a traditional front garden or lawn, that needs regular maintenance and often watering as well. Whereas for Chattowood, once a month we come in. It's a fairly quick job to pull out the few weeds that have managed to seed in the sand and do a bit of deadheading. And then once a year we come in and give it a good sort of thorough once over.
One of the reasons why this project is a big deal is that it's the only one in the country that we're aware of that has had this kind of intricate planting with this volume of different species that's being monitored on an ongoing basis. So it's not just one garden, you've got a whole swathe of gardens, and that in turn creates a huge range of habitat for wildlife.
Well, the fact is that every garden is a wildlife garden, but some are better than others. The sort of typical housing garden new build has a garden that's been put together relatively cheaply in a fairly standardised way, often with flat grass and lollipop trees and a few border plants. Whilst some of the typical garden plantings can be good for wildlife, the ones we've put into Chattowood are so much better. The simple fact is, I've been surveying those insects on a regular basis, and I've found, comparing Chattowood with the traditional development next door, at peak 20 times as many pollinators using our garden, Chattowood, as using the adjacent gardens. So we think this is the way forward. We need houses, we need to build houses, and if we can do that in a way which encourages wildlife by adopting sensible approaches to bringing in biodiversity through the planting, then so much the better. Everyone's happy.
So we started this project as a concept in the early 2020s. We actually started planting in April 2022, and it's an ongoing process where they've done phases of development. Beth Chatto's are involved at an arm's length distance. It will be taken over by a landscape maintenance firm, but we will always be keeping an eye on it. We will always be monitoring it, because over time it's important to see how these plants survive after 10 years, 20 years, bearing in mind climate change, etc.
So in the past, like a lot of other big developers, our approach to planting would be just to put the biggest plants you can in the ground, the prettiest plants you can, so that they're well-established plants, so that it gives that wow factor to people that are coming to the development. The way we've changed that is a lot of these plants start off small, but over the course of 6 months or so you see a journey where they've grown significantly and they take over the borders here at Chattowood. The sustainable planting we're doing here with Beth Chatto, it ties in with our sustainability goals. Across development we implement things such as solar panels, electric car charging, and planting in this way helps us reduce our carbon footprint and water usage. Going forwards we plan to implement this across our future developments.
My initial impressions, obviously because it wasn't really in bloom or anything then, was literally it's just a case of I don't know what it's going to look like, and I'm not a gardener in any way, shape or form, and my idea would be to concrete it all over. I think my opinion's changed just purely because of, obviously, we've been here now roughly about 18 months actually living in our house, and over the whole 18 months everything has just kind of come to life. It's come to bloom, there's colour, I love everything about obviously how the planting is. I just think that everything about it is just so appealing. Yeah, I would definitely recommend a planting like this.
So we're hoping that other firms, other builders will see what's going on here and take it up for themselves. We're using this planting in a very dry part of the country. It'll be really interesting to see what could be done in different conditions. We hope that this gives inspiration to people to use the right plant in the right place, builders and developers all across the country.